Welcome back to the Aagaard Moto Foundry instructional video series. Today we're going to be rebuilding the fuel pumps for the Buell 1125 or Buell/EBR 1190 fuel pumps. So what we have here is some of the tools we'll need to complete the job and what comes in our kit. There is just a couple differences between the 1190 pump and the 1125 pump. The main one being the low fuel sensor. On the 1125 model, they will look like this, a two-wire thermistor. And on the 1190s, there is a float and basically just a float switch. And we sell these in the store, sell this in our kit that we offer is our fuel pump, a strainer, the two large pump body O-rings, the fuel filter, the lines that you'll need and clamps, a specialized seal that goes at the base of the pump, a new circlip for the top, and then we're going to explain why you'd need a little grinding tip to get the job done. So in the interest of brevity, we have taken this pump that we're going to be working on apart. But basically, to get this fuel pump apart, all you do is take off this circlip. It's going to look a little bit different. It's going to look small, like this little guy here. So once this is off, you undo the two Oedeker clamps. Be careful to not damage this bridge that's on the top. These are irreplaceable, and we have to come up with a whole different system to help you if you break this. So be very careful when you're getting these apart. One trick that I like to do with Oedeker clamps is to just get a sharp pair of side cutters, and to get into this portion where the clamp comes together here, and to bend that off, and then once that's released, it will come apart. So we will have taken this off. We'll take our clamps off the top hoses. The bridge will come off. Then this cover will come off as such. Then the pump and the fuel filter sit in this area here. So this comes off of the fuel filter, and the pump will be contained in here. And then we have the bottom part, which is the cup, and we'll explain why there's a mark on there in a minute. And then you just want to make sure that you clean this area very well, clean all the plastic up very well. Your pump is going to be sitting in here in this fashion, and it will have your filter sock trapped on there like such in this orientation. And you just want to take a small screwdriver and pry on this area here, and your old strainer will come off. Then you can separate the old pump, and you're ready to go, basically. So what we need to do first, after cleaning, take off your O-rings here and clean up this entire area. All parts, here, in here, everything. Clean up the pump assembly really well. Again, this is from an 1190, so it has the float wires instead of the thermistor wires. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to modify the cup slightly. So basically about 1.6 inches wide and about 0.2 of an inch deep in this area. You can just put 3 marks and then draw the lines together. And then we just need to take our grinding tip and modify this cup just slightly, because the components are a little bit different from what we're able to source that is different from stock. So we'll come back after we grind this and pick up from there. All right, so we have used our grinding stone and we've altered this bottom cup. And again, these photos are on the website of the dimensions, about 1.6 inches wide and about 0.2 of an inch down. And so we're going to install this cup in the bottom of the fuel pump chassis. Slides in just like this. This just gives us some room for the strainer. So the next thing we're going to do is install our fuel filter. Now the only thing of note with this is that it is directional. So what you will see in the filter itself, on the outside there's an arrow, but what I need you to do is confirm that there is an in stamped on the top here, and that is going to go with the inside up, and we're going to put it in just in this orientation. But first we're going to remove this rubber cap, and then we're going to go ahead and install with the in on the top. We're going to install this in here with the provided filter seal, and that's this right here. So what we're going to do is use a little bit of motor oil. And you can use the motor oil on all of your O-rings, on the large pump body, on this, to make sure that everything is lubricated well. You can put a little bit on here. And then what I like to do is install it into the bore. And I get about half of it installed into the bore. And then making sure in is on top, we're going to install the filter. Just going to wiggle it back and forth. Until we get that solid engagement sound. And if we don't get that sound, we're going to have to start over again. Of course, we got the in on top, just as such. So the next thing we're going to do is get our pump and strainer installed. Now, there are 3 covers on the pump, one on the top, a black cap on the bottom, and then one, it's kind of hard to see, in the strainer, and this one has actually been removed. So it's a plastic cap, fits in there, and I'm not sure where it went, but it has self-removed. So just as long as you can see inside of here, then no worries. So what you want to do before you put this on, insert the pump, and then you want to orientate the pump in this position, and you'll see it's almost impossible to put it in wrong and get the filter strainer on. So then we're going to put this on here, and all this is lining it up as such and then pressing it down. So we're going to start it on there, and then we're just going to press down on the assembly until it makes that nice engagement sound. Now we have the strainer, and now we can take the assembly here and install it. It's ready to be installed on here, and it just slides on like this. So the other side of that, it just slips onto the filter, inline filter, just like that. And so that is the start of this. Now the next step we need to do is to install our 2 hoses, and we'll do that next. So this is the set of hoses that comes in the kit. There's a long hose and a short hose. They're both the same size, and your 4 Odoker clamps. So what we're going to do is put the long hose on the fuel filter, the short hose on the pump, and again, a little bit of motor oil really helps things move along. And you can do that on the inside here of the hose. This hose is designed to be submersed, so it's fuel safe on the inside and the outside. So that's an important note. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. Now what I like to do is when you install the hose is to make sure that the clamp is approximately where you want it when you're going to put it on, because sometimes it locks on there. Okay, so we got that hose on there. And you can see I'm able to make a little bit of adjustment, but this is tapered, gets larger as it goes down, so we want to make sure it's where we want it. Press that on there. The next one, Oetiker clamp on. Going to put that on the fuel filter. Make sure the clamp is about where you want it. And again, in is on here, fuel's flowing in this direction. And then when both these are pressed down, your hoses should be approximately the same. We're going to show you in a minute here how to make adjustments on these hoses. But the second set of clamps do not go on until we put a cover on. So we're going to take our Oetiker clamp and we're going to clamp down on these. So we'll get that done now and be right back. When you do this, make sure not to have the clamps at such a position that it would bite into the hose. All right, so that's ready. Next, we're going to put the bridge on, the bridge cover, sorry. So we need to put the strainer up. This catches on here as such. Make sure that I can orientate this so you can see it. So these two hoses are going to go through this hole, these sets of holes right here. Get it lined up. Now they're almost always going to catch right here on the edge of the pump, so just wiggle your hoses around until you get that in there. All right, next up is the bridge. All right, so the bridge is a very important piece. It contains a check valve in here and an overpressure valve. These are extremely hard to replace, so make sure not to break this. We're going to put some motor oil here and a little in here and the other hose. So at this point we want to put our Oetiker clamps on over before we get the bridge on. Put them on here. We want to double check to make sure that the cage here is able to go down all the way. And then we can go ahead and put the bridge on. And the bridge fastens in this. There is for the post. And then I always like to just get this side started first. Then move over to the other side. Press down. Now, because this hose is at such an angle that it gets turned, it has to come over and then go up, which is kind of awkward, but we will show you the trick for that. So we're going to go ahead and push down as such. Now we're going to go ahead and put the E-clip on to hold this whole assembly down, and then I'm going to give you a little pointer on how to get this straight and up towards the bridge. Okay, so just to hold things together, we installed our E-clip into the groove here, and that keeps everything compressed. It's right up in here. The groove is underneath, of course. Now we still have the issue with this hose, so what we suggest is you take a screwdriver, and even though this has an Oetiker clamp, these are not tightened yet, but these are. These two are not tightened yet, but this one can still be moved. And because we got the clip up here, we're able just to force up on the rubber very carefully. You can press on your hand, or press on the hose with your hand right here. And just take your time and work that hose upward. And as you can see, we're closing the gap there. So now, if you can see, get the camera going here, there is no longer a big gap and the hose has turned, and we still have a good seal here. So now we're going to position these. And this part can be a little bit tricky because you got to get your Aagaard clamp pliers in here. So let me give you a little suggestion, is to have two types, a straight jawed and one that you can get in different angles. Okay, this one would be smaller on this side so we could get in here, and then this one is for the side so we could get in here. So handy to have both. So we'll go ahead and clamp these down. Again, making sure we do not nick the hose with our pliers. That one's tight. This one here, again, I like to use this guy here, and you can come in at an angle that suits it, depending on where this lands here. And what's usually going to happen is you can start it with this little guy here. So I'm able to just get under the bridge right here and just finish it off like that. So that's where these come in handy. Just make sure that's tight. This guy is tight. Okay, now double check your work. You're going to want to make sure that this cover is flush with this. All your lines are intact. And the final thing you have to do is to hook up your pump like this. It can only go in one way. Should make a nice click sound. And then depending on the model you have, go ahead and hook up your low fuel sensor. And then, go ahead and you can zip tie your wires to this post. We just do it here and up in here usually. And then depending if you have 1190 or 1125, you can install your low fuel float or your low fuel sensor. So if this were an 1125 pump, which it's not, we would be installing the low fuel thermistor in this position and then attaching it as such. This one is our version of the low fuel float. It took us a while to find these, but we finally come up with a great solution. So this has two options. You can solder the connections together and just have it wired directly, or you can ask us when you buy it to include some spade terminals, and we give you both sides of those. So basically this is just no terminals at this point, and then this gets connected here as such, and then we provide a lock nut and a nut on here, and the 1190 sensors just connect like so and then get zip tied, and then all this extra wire will be gone. We'll give you a shot of the finished product at the end, but I did want to make a note. Look at our other videos on our YouTube channel about the diode issue. This customer had a bad diode, so we removed the diode, and this is repotted, so the diode's been actually clipped out of here. We have re-epoxied the area, and this one's ready to go. And then we suggest that owners purchase the plug-and-play harness that we sell. And what that does is that allows ECM protection from flyback, which is basically when the electric motor shuts down. It can send a pulse of energy back through the lines back to the ECM. That's called flyback, and that's bad for the ECM. So it's a really good idea once this is removed, and the reason this is removed is because it causes trouble, runnability issues, problems with the pump. Once that is removed, then you need something to protect the system, and we will give a shot of that before we close out the video. But that is just a plug and play. It has factory connectors. You just plug it in and it's good to go. But if you'd like to learn more about this diode issue, then just go ahead and look up our other videos on that topic. So we were talking about the diode removal, which is a separate process, and I'll put a link up for the video on our YouTube site. But the stock internal diode is located in this epoxy area here, and to remove it, this needs to be chipped out, and then the diode cut out, and then you re-epoxy, and then in that situation, this no longer has a diode to protect the ECM from flyback voltage. So what we have come up with is a plug and play harness, and this connects to your stock connectors, and we have put a diode that's stronger and will last longer inside here, inside the harness. It's right in there, and it's all quality components, and this is the solution once you remove the diode. So with the pump kit from us, removing the diode, you can send that to us and we'll do it, or you can do it yourself and we'll guide you through the process. And with this product, we've come up with a total solution to the 1125 and 1190 fuel pump issues. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching. Any questions, post them below. Make sure to like and subscribe our channel.